Well, here we are again, folks. Another CIRF report, October 15th through October 21st. If you're new here, we do our energy reports from Thursday of every week to the following Wednesday, and we include the weekend too. So we do need two things out of this report. We need to know what the main influence is, and we also need to know what the best behaviors are in order to maximize the energies that are afforded to us. So what is the best way to behave to capture the most advancement or the most use or the best use, the most efficient use of the energy afforded? All right. So here we have our summary slide, and we have three mechanisms with which we're going to look at the energy. The astrology is really complex, and yeah, there's some T-squares, but they really are decaying out. It's almost not worth even mentioning anymore, but it is. I do need to acknowledge that it's there. The big news, new Libra moon. It's a new cycle in Libra, and that is represented by the purple, but there is so much in the astrology. I probably should have just put complexity up here, as you'll see later. We're going to go day by day in the astrology, so hang on, and we'll do that next. But in the meantime, we have the I-Ching, that's hexagram 37, extended family. We lay that over, and that's a direct overlap of the Libra and Venus influence. So it's not all of the astrology, because the astrology is so much more than that, but it's generally representative of the people who are close to me, according to the I-Ching. The people who are close to me, it's balance. It's the divine feminine, really. If you look at the overlap between extended family and the astrology, it's going to be the divine feminine is that Venus sort of archetype. Libra is balance, it's the scales. And if we include the Dreambot, which we'll talk about that first. But it's basically the balance of work and play. So that's why we have the divine feminine as the overall influence with an emphasis in balance and the scales. Not a real high congruency score because the collective mind, the collective unconscious, is halfway over into the solution, as you're going to see here later. All right. We're going to talk about the Dreambot when we come back. Hang on. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you so much for all your comments. You don't realize how much help that really is, just putting a little blurb down there. And I want to just say thank you. I'm very grateful for all of the support that I'm getting from you all. Thank you. All right. The Dreambot is a collective unconscious in the form of subconscious dreams. And dreams are coming from the subconscious. And when you put them all together and analyze them, like what are the most common words in people's dreams these days, this is what you get. You get cloud at the very top. People are flying high and fast. They're flying. They're even fighting. There's a fighting in there, but it's not like a war. It doesn't have a war sort of context. There is a lot of flying. It's clouds. It's suited up. It's flying forward fast. So it's flying, fighting, and forward. That reminds me, that's really weird because I've been working on my new project. I'm going to show you that now. Oh, look at this. This is the new project. It'll be out, I don't know, December, January. It's high performance psychology and counseling. And you got, my old career was in flying F-15s. You got the clouds there. It's remarkable. I didn't do this. I did this before the Dreambot, so I thought that was pretty cool that the red arrows is basically my new project. So that was kind of cool. Then the blue arrows is something else. It's just play and show and entertain. It's very Venus. Venus wants to be seen in a really good light and sort of light and maybe sometimes passionate. But anyway, it's about show. Oh, and what I missed was the midnight. Midnight has been there every day since last CIRF report. So midnight riders, this has everything to do with flying together, fighting together, and forward, pushing forth. And it's heavy. Look at how many red arrows there are. That's the emphasis in today's collective. Midnight riders. moving forward. Way to go. Way to take charge of the human collective mind. You guys are doing great. Keep at it. All right. Here's the summary slide of the astrology. That's what we're going to do now, day by day. You can just see the bottom line is, look how complex that is. And that's not even half of what we're going to see. I'm not going to go through all these. Yeah, there's the T-square in there. There's the sun, that square. But let's move forward. Let's talk about day by day, Thursday the 15th. Mercury is in retrograde, and I'm hoping you can go back and look at, I don't know if I did or not. I should have if I didn't mention that Mercury is going retrograde, and that was as of yesterday. So Mercury in Scorpio, so obsessive thinking, but now we're in retrograde, so returning to older passions and obsessions. That's the obsessions are coming from this Scorpio sort of mind, and it's watery. And so anyway, expect a waddle, expect your mind to waddle. And it's hard to waddle because of Uranus on the other side, and Uranus won't let you waddle. And I probably need to put this higher highlighter in here. So you got mind and waddling and maybe ruminating, that kind of like round and around and around sort of thinking. But Uranus is on the other side of this balancing act. By the way, balance. Look at all of the oppositions here. There's 3. And it goes up and down here as we move along. Yeah, look, there's a T-square, a heavy T-square with the sun and our triplet with the positive transformation of the way things have always been, that kind of thing. That's the Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn trio. And then you've got the Mars. But look, it's all like dotted, dashed. That means that it's aging out. It's on the waning side of this alignment. But what is strong here is the Venus. Now, granted, Venus, as we talked about last week, Venus in Virgo is technically what's considered in astrology. She's in a fall. She's in fall. And what that means is Venus has less ability to carry her activities out. It's kind of mired with friction. So it's a little bit more friction there for Venus. And in this regard, it's going to be, with your relationships, are going to be a little bit more detail oriented. You're going to be stopping and kind of looking at what's wrong. Very detail oriented. That's the friction for Venus in Virgo. But you have here a trine that's going to build all week. This is going to get stronger as the T-square ages out. And some other things are aging out. Looks like everything else is aging out pretty much. This trine is getting stronger. So Venus is getting, although she's friction in Virgo, that extra energy, it's going to be easy down to this positive transformation of the way things have always been. All right. So that's a really cool thing. And I think that's about all I wanted to mention there. Let's look at the chaos in the sky. And this is Friday the 16th. Just look at, there's that same T-square. There's going to be another aging T-square with the moon here in next couple days. But now there was 3 oppositions. Now there's 4, a couple of them aging out. There's Venus now has another trine. It's aging out. So multiple trines, an opposition to Neptune. That's keeping your dreams and your very transpersonal, that's the Pisces influence, your transpersonal and psychic dreams in balance with this overly critical, maybe with your relationships. That whole balance is there. And this is the new moon. So this one is at Libra, 23 degrees, 53 minutes, almost 24 degrees. And Libra is our scales, it's justice, it's fairness, it's harmony, peace is in there. It's also your closest relationships. This is not your friendships. That's more of Aquarius. The Libra is like your close knit. That's kind of ironic that the the I-Ching chose extended family. So what that's saying is that Venus and Libra represents family, but we're going to expand that out more. And we might be able to include this whole thing from last week, which is we're all in this train together moving forward. Maybe that's our extended family, the Midnight Riders and such, and the Patriots. Maybe we're all one big family, huh? Maybe that sense will be here. But anyway, let's get back to the new moon. New moon's got that freaking T-square again. It's not the corner of it. The corner is the positive transformation of the way things have always been. And you have the part of fortune that's right in that mix. So that's what's really interesting is this kind of is segmented off of our new moon. That's not really, it's sort of a trap if you get over here. If you do get trapped, so this is one of those cases where, well, maybe it is fortunate to be there. And remember that part of fortune is always on the ascendant when you have a new moon because they're together. Remember, the part of fortune is a angular distance between sun and moon, and because they're together, it's at 0, which is the ascendant. And that just happens to be right there conjunct with Saturn and the rest of the gang there. So that could be a fortunate trap. Not all traps are bad. You could be trapped in a fortunate position, which is your maybe being able to see the decay of the way things have always been in the past. You can have the fortune be represented in your demeanor, in your behaviors, if you're in this trap anyway. Naturally, you can have that be as part of your aura, I guess, on the new moon. Again, the time is the 16th at 4:30 p.m. That's Central Daylight Savings Time. And Libra is all about justice, harmony, balance, relationship. And, Venus rules Libra, Venus being in a fall, but it represents beauty. And then what else? Finance. Libra is well known to be a financial sort of zodiacal sign because of Venus. And so there might be a new day in finances. And that sort of makes a lot more sense because this fortune that's in this positive transformation, its ease, its sense of ease is not actually the new moon, but it's going off to the financial being of Venus. And the other side of the Venus is change and then adapting to Mars and then balance to Neptune. So it's a central focus, but it's not so squared off like the sun and the moon are to this fortunate trap here. You don't have to be trapped. You can maybe easy change in your finances. All right. Enough of that. Saturday, as we get into the weekend, we still see the same amount of oppositions. This trine is getting stronger. You can see some of the lines dropping out of the T-square finally. So it's starting to get more Venus-oriented and Libra-oriented, but Venus still has got the center of attention. She's enthroned. And then here's the divine feminine in her archetype, and that's Venus in triple trine here. With all these, the part of fortune is still on the backside of the Jupiter, but on the Jupiter side, so the very fortunate side, Jupiter representing fortune and luck and optimism. And so that trap technically still there, but the easier energy is over to Venus. And that's why Venus is, I'm calling enthroned, even though she's in fall with Virgo. So it's a little bit more maybe frustrated because you start noticing all the things that are wrong per se, but not afraid to be the Venus. It just takes a little bit more work, a little bit more struggle. Plus you have the Mars side of things is when you have the squares, that energy wants to resist the flow. But when you have a trine, it wants to go easy to that part over there. So the positive transformation, the very fortunate positive transformation of the way things have always been, has easy energy over to Venus versus not easy energy over to Mars. So that kind of takes out, unless you really want to be fighting, which is going to be kind of a double conflict there, the energy, if you just let that be natural, is going to go over to Venus, which is harmonious. It's the divine feminine. All the things that we talked about with Libra have to do with Venus. So it's a divine feminine sort of environment right here as the T-square ages out. Look at all the segmented now. As all of them tend to age out. I mean, heck, the sun's now only with one on the Saturn side now, and that's about it. So it's very waxing. I mean, waning. I think I said that word wrong earlier in this report, but I'm not going to go back and change it. I meant waning if I didn't say that right. But anyway, the only thing that's left right now, Venus, with 3 trines and a decaying T-square. There's a quick emotional trap. This is a different T-square, so it's very quick and it's very past-oriented because it's on now, what day is this? This is on Tuesday the 20th. In Sagittarius, the moon's going to transit, and it's going to be transiting conjunct with the south node. That's your trap for another T-square. It's a different one. It's a quick one. So very emotional, thinking about the past, and maybe more philosophical in nature, but these emotions are going to be past-oriented, and it's going to be a trap. So back to just Venus and that easy energy. Be in the easy energy. There's not really a need to be fighting all this. There's other options here. Now what's final is that the sun is no longer opposed to Mars, and that whole opposition is gone. So the T-square is done. You just have double squares. They're almost done. All that's left, Venus again. You do have some we have the sun and Mercury headed together, moving together, going towards each other. And that's about all I have to say about that. Let's look at the I-Ching reading. Like we talked about, extended family, we already have the Libra archetype here. A family that thrives is one in which a healthy interdependence is cultivated. Respect for different roles is essential. What I did was I circled all the areas that sound like Libra. So we have trust, shared responsibilities, good communication, our primary values. That's harmony. A harmonious family is a team that symbolizes the ideal of human interdependence. That's the Libra and Venus. The forces that bind a family, Libra, are a balance. There's another word for Libra that Libra represents. In fact, the scales are the symbol. Their relations on all kinds of teams are improved through the cultivation of yin-yang. That yin-yang is basically what the Dreambot was. It's the work and play. Open, focus, balance. Balance is the other word for Libra. All right, before we get to the solution, this is important. So we have one change line. Let's read about it. You are confident and your efforts command respect. This is a time of reward and recognition. Remember that the leader of a circle of influence, the group of friends, teammates, and family, has a responsibility to set a good example. It is through developing your own character that you influence others and create order. That, folks, is not just the divine feminine, but very specifically to the Venus influence and the divine feminine. So the archetype that includes Venus, that's very important because it's not just being seen, but the Venus wants to be seen in a good light. I mean, it's very important. And what it's suggesting here is to set the example. Don't do as I say, do as I do. And so don't tell everybody what to do. Just act how you should act, and that will create order in your close circle. So that's, say, walk the walk, talk the talk. That's bottom line there. But that's not really the solution. This is just the influence, and you can see it's riddled with Libra and Venus. All right, it's a direct overlap. All right, let's get into the solution next. Intervention therapy is the current project that's housing the counseling and the coaching. But as we saw earlier, what will be coming on the scene is the new high performance psychology. So we're going to have the yin and the yang in both of my practices at some point. All right. So if you need coaching of any sort, like human design, astrology reading, projected charts, natal charts, or any sort of life coaching, that's intervention.com. Sign up, go to the website and sign up. All right. When you put in that changed line on 37, hexagram 37, you get 63 after completion. And I do want to remind you that, just want to read this real quick. This is a time of reward and recognition. Isn't that cool? Because after completion, it says that the behavior is the behaviors that you have once you've completed the project. Now, remember where we were a couple weeks ago. We were looking at rise, and we were looking at pushing forward, and we had that forward energy. We still do have that according to the collective unconscious, but according to the I-Ching solution, it's that breath after you've completed. It's catching your breath. But let's read a little bit more about what we have here. It is a fine irony that after the completion of a project or grand enterprise, there is still too much to do. Completion is merely a pause in the cycle of creation and decay. Through completion, though completion implies a period of restful pause, one that has been well earned, it is not an actual ending. It is a harmonious flat spot in the constancy of change and movement. Okay, so it's going to be that pause. Again, this is not the influence, this is the solution. So we need to be looking for some behaviors in this. When forces are balanced, the water boils properly. When the pot is too full and boils over, it puts out the fire. So we want an equilibrium. We want balance. That's a direct overlap again with the Libra and Venus. So now we have both the influence and the solution both talking about balance and equilibrium. Don't let your current good fortune give rise to adopting an attitude that is too careless or relaxed. Remember, this is a period of time of completion. It's taking that break. It's taking that breath, getting your breath again, but don't get careless. Don't get your feet too high up there to where it feels too hard to get back in the groove later. Whatever is successful or already established needs to be carefully maintained without trying to expand it right now. When what is incomplete, on the other hand, should be brought out to fruition without delay. Then take satisfaction upon completion and enjoy a sense of fulfillment, but do not linger too long on endings. Okay? So there's a lot there. It's not saying that you need to stop what you're doing. It is to kind of wrap things up. The projects that are close to ending or have ended, it's just maintaining it. So it's not like you do nothing. It's not a lazy man's week here or woman's week. It's not do nothing. It's not a complete B, but it is purposefully sort of getting your breath back as you complete tasks that are still undone, or you're still maintaining the tasks that have already been completed. All right. Now here's what we do. We are trying to get to the Rave mandala in our calculator in the final portion of our solution. And the way we do this, we take the tropical chart And then we plot where the main influences are. So we have obviously the new moon. That was in Rave 32, hexagram 32. But I'm also going to include Venus, and that is in hexagram 64. Isn't that interesting? You have 32. What's 32 times 2? 64. Both of these are in the respective, Rave mandala. And then I'm going to choose the sidereal of Virgo because, lots of reasons. You have Venus in fall in Virgo, but Venus is already in Virgo. So there's that bodes well to being able to have the influence and the solution as the same zodiac sign. So that's why I chose that. All right, now let's look at the Rave mandala real quick. And this is a new high-tech camera on the new phone. So it's I gotta work with that so it doesn't become so blurry. But it's the gate of continuity. By its nature, it is extremely conservative. Where the sensitivity stream is social and communal, the instinctive stream is social and individual. It will not rush to embrace a revolution. That's exactly what we saw in the astrology. It will not rush to embrace a revolution, but it succeeds and is established in the general community. Then it will instinctively adapt, maintaining its basic nature. There's a lot of gibberish. This is the first week I've really seen and been kind of, reluctant to spend a lot of time on the Rave mandala portion, but I thought it was interesting where you've got two gates that signify the same sort of context, the Venus Libra context, and they're multiplied by 2. So, 64 and 32. I thought that was pretty incredible. But in terms of suggestions, it's not really all that. How about this? This does matter. It can be a gate of prolonged indecision. Conservative reliance, agonizing over the risks of being driven towards transformation. That is the Venus in Virgo. It can be a prolonged indecision because Venus has to be thinking more. It's not just kind of just flow. It flows. It's very purposeful, and they're going to see problems everywhere they turn. So that weighs it down. So expect that here, according to the Rave mandala. When the logic process tests the pattern in the present to project into the future, the gate is a flood of images rooted in past experience. That was the moon and the south node, I believe, on Monday in that T-square trap. That's exactly what this is saying. It's a gate of confusion. And so watch out for confusion. I'm going to show this in our solution side. So here we are. On the top is the influence. And you can see Venus in the background. Venus in the background, and then the Libra archetype on top. The scales, divine feminine with an emphasis in the scales, in the balance that we need to have. So it's wanting to be balanced. It's seeing out of balance. It's the influence is the divine feminine associated with peace, harmony, beauty, even finance, but with an emphasis on that need for balance. All right, here's the triangulation process for the solution. We talked about hexagram 63, after completion. Enjoy the sense of fulfillment, but do not linger too long on ending celebrations. The Rave mandala, we had 32, the gate of continuity. So keeping things going is specifically mentioned in all of our modalities. 64, the gate of confusion, is definitely warranted with a Mercury in retrograde in Scorpio. All right, so expect a little bit of confusion or a lot of confusion. Good luck getting truth right now. We're within 30 days of the election. It's an all-out propaganda war on in every modality that you can imagine. So good luck getting the real truth. Sidereal Virgo, that's our solution for the zodiac sign. Discriminate, detailed, analytical, hardworking. This is what Virgo really is. And we do suggest that you work towards being more Virgo because that's what was in the sidereal above the new moon. But you want to avoid being overly critical. Don't be stubborn, uptight. Don't be people-pleasing. All right, so we look for the very center here of all the circles, and here's what we get. The past 2 weeks, remember, we had to rise, and then we had inner power. This week is about catching your breath. I put in here inventorying your status. It's like get to know where you are in the projects. First of all, I mean, be conscious about that. If you're almost done, if you're not even close to being done, that new project I have is just being started. So know where you are is a very important part of this process. It's about prioritizing, planning, organizing. These things that I just mentioned, prioritizing, planning, organizing, are a very good gift for Virgo. And so use that gift as your solution. It's a highly mental, emotional week. It's not a real strong behavioral week. It's more mental. It's organizing, planning. It's looking at status making, seeing where you are. And it's getting yourself prepared for the next big surge. Take more time to see, feel how much you have done. Inventory your completed tasks to appreciate how far you've come. That's according to the I-Ching. Button up unfinished projects, or at least plan their completion in detail. Venus and Libra are going to offer you the grace and dignity, and mix that with the responsibility and discrimination of Virgo to keep the plan intact. Remember that Venus in Virgo has some sort of friction there. So you kind of have to be very conscious about how you do these things. Review this summary slide as much as you need to remind yourself what we're trying to do here. It's planning, it's prioritizing, it's seeing how far you've come, it's spending time in that fulfillment feeling, but not staying there stagnant. The solution is about maintaining continuity. That's the mandala. Gate of continuity. Keep the wheels moving. Avoid being too hard on yourself, too stubborn, or too perfectionistic. Remember, the behaviors here are less. What we want to do is probably do a little bit more of the mental side of things. Plan, catch your breath, be very conscious and aware. And, Virgo is our earth sign, so getting into the five senses would be warranted. I know that runs counter to being a little bit more mental, but if you include both of those, you have the gifts of both. You have being practical, but yet looking into the future a little bit mentally and planning. All right. And even the past, if you can look at what's fulfilling you, sometimes it's hard to see how far you've come. You've climbed up a mountainside. It's good every once in a while to take a stop, a break, pull out your waters, take a sip of water while you look over the vista, and you look especially how far you've come. A lot of times you don't know that until you take that break and turn around and look. And maybe it's not that far for you. That's not a time to get down on yourself. That's the Virgo tendency as well. So be watching for that. This isn't a time to be too hard on yourself and too stubborn. It is about catching your breath. So you analyze individually what it is you need to do with that. Do you need to take a longer break to catch your breath? Then do it. I think energy recuperation is a good time for the divine feminine to wipe the past clean and get yourself ready for the next surge of yang. This isn't, a being state. It's still doing methodically, practically, small. It's not a big push forward. It's more mental planning and assessing. All right. I really hope that helps. And I hope everybody has a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. All right. And enjoy that new moon.